Hey boys and girls, I hope everyone's doing good. This week we're going to do some comparative words and we're going to add ER and EST. So if you have just two things, you're going to add ER. So if it's like, she is taller than he, two things, add the ER to tall. If you have more than two things, so you have three people, you can say she is the tallest out of all of them. Or if you have a bunch of people, she is the tallest out of all of them. So we're going to do ER and EST. And remember, two things, just comparing two things, you use ER. And just comparing more than two things, you're going to use EST. So we're going to read a really fun book, and it is Pig, Pigger, and Piggest. And these are our pigs. And Rick Walton is the author. He wrote the story, and then the illustrator is Jimmy Holder. So there's our Pig, Pigger, and Piggest. Once upon a time, there were three pigs: a big pig named Pig, a bigger pig named Pigger, and the biggest of the three named Piggest. They all lived in the castle of their father, the king. One day, their father called them in. "Pig," he said, "when you were born, you were a little pig. And Pigger, you were an even littler pig. And Piggest, you were the littlest of the dear, sweet, dirty babies. And now you are great big pigs. And this castle isn't big enough for the four of us. It's time for you to go out and build homes of your own." "Oh, yay," the pig said, "homes of our own." And off went Pig, Pigger, and Piggest. So they're going to set out and build their own castles. Pig found a nice muddy spot for his castle. He formed the mud into 1,000,000 bricks and began to build. And soon he had a tall wall, thick brick castle of his very own. Pigger found a nicer, muddier spot for his castle. He formed the mud into 1,000,000 bricks and began to build. And soon he had a taller, waller, thicker, bricker castle of his very own. So they compared his to the first one, and they added the ER. Piggest found the nicest, muddiest spot for his castle. He formed the mud into 1,000,000,000 bricks and began to build. And soon he had the tallest, wallest, thickest, brickest castle of all. So they compared his to all of the others and added the EST. One day, there was a knock at Pig's castle door. He opened it. There stood Witch, who lived in the forest with her two sisters. Big Pig, let me come in," Witch said. "I am rich and I want to buy your castle." "Oh, go build your own," Pig said. "I'm a witch, not a builder," Witch said, "and I must have your castle." "Not by the hair on your warty wart," Pig said, and he slammed the door shut in the witch's face. "Then Huff and Puff will blow your house down," and the witch waved her arm in the air. In came Huff and Puff. They blew, they thundered, and they rained big drops of rain. Look at his castle. Soon all that was left of Pig's castle was one big mud field. That same day, there was a knock at Pigger's castle door. He opened it. There stood Witcher, who lived in the forest with her two sisters. Bigger Pigger, bigger Pigger, let me come in," Witcher said. "I am richer than anyone you know, and I want to buy your castle." "Get someone else to build you one," Pigger said. "No one will build for me," Witcher said, "so I must have your castle." "Not by the hair on your nosy nose, Pigger said, and he slammed the door shut in the Witcher's face. "Then Huffer and Puffer will blow your house down," and Witcher waved her arms in the air. In came Huffer and Puffer. They blew, they thundered, and then they rained. Big drops of rain, then bigger drops. It's not looking good for the castle. And soon all that was left of Pigger's castle was one huge mud field, of muddier field Pigger had ever seen. That same day, there was a knock at Piggist's castle door. He opened it. There stood Witchest, who lived in the forest with her 2 sisters. Biggest, Piggist, biggest, Piggist, let me come in, Witchest said. I am the richest witch around, and I want to buy your castle. Go on and conjure up your own, Piggist said. I can't. I have only one kind of magic, Witchest said, and I must have your castle. Not by the hair on your chinny chin chin, Piggist said, and he slammed the door shut in the witch's face. Then Huffist and Puffist will blow your house down, and the witchess waved her arms in the air. In came Huffist and Puffist. They blew and they thundered, and they rained big drops of rain, bigger drops of rain, and then the biggest drops that had ever fallen. And soon all that was left of Piggist's castle was one tremendous mud field, the muddiest field Piggist had ever seen. The next day, Pig, Pigger, and Piggist all happened to show up at the same time at the door of a small but very nice hut in the forest. They knocked. The door opened slowly. Yes, said the witches. You make beautiful mud, said Pig, Pigger, and Piggist. And, well, we love you. You can make mud for us, and we will build castles for you if you'll only marry us. You want to marry us? Said the witches as they opened the door wide. A fat tear rolled down the witch's face. A fatter tear rolled down Witcher's face. The fattest tear rolled down Witcher's face, for no one had ever loved them before. We do, said the pigs. Will you marry us? Yes, Witch said. Yes, sir, Witcher said. Yesest, Witches said. And the next day, everyone turned out for the largest and most beautiful wedding that anyone had ever seen. And when the ceremony was over, Pig and Witch were very happy. Pigger and Witcher couldn't have been happier. And Piggist and Witchest were the happiest that anyone has ever been. And they all lived sloppily ever after. So when they were comparing just the 2, they used the ER. When they were comparing the 3, they used the EST. So there's a lot of ER and EST words in this story. So when you're doing your words this week, remember ER compares 2 things and EST is comparing 3 things. Work hard this week, boys and girls, and have a great week.